Welcome back to another week in review. We're looking at the week of February 17th, 2025. Just a quick note about this week, and I'll go into some data that's happening. So Monday, tomorrow, is a close day for equities. The futures market's open, so we open Sunday night at 6 p.m. Globex, and then we close 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 12 p.m. Central on tomorrow, and then reopen Globex 6 p.m. Monday as we normally would. So it's a bit of an odd one where you get the Globex sessions are open, like the Asian and Euro sessions are open, but equities market, the New York Stock Exchange is closed. So just get out of the way. Not a very data heavy week that we have this week. Last week, obviously, we had a very data extensive week. We had CPI, PPI come in, which was finally one of the catalysts to break us away a little bit. And then Friday, we basically did nothing. So just to give a quick recap of what happened last week, another Globex gap down, which keeping with the theme somehow, another Globex gap down immediately gets bought up, and then we range through the first couple of days of the week. And then Wednesday, we had CPI come in hot. We had an initial reaction with a really nice sell down, and then after which we put in a low down into that pivot of 60 20s and just kind of grinded away the rest of the day. Had some decent trades this day. I was mainly looking to see if we could finally get continuation on the sell side. I took a couple short trades, which worked out well. I didn't actually take any buy side trades this day. I thought Wednesday we might actually be able to break lower because we finally had what seems like a real inflation print from the last many that we've had, which came in quite hot. So I thought there was a chance we could finally break this range down. When we didn't, that was pretty telling. That was pretty telling to me. So the fact that we couldn't actually break lower on a hot CPI print, to me, basically to kind of reinforce the idea that like this market seems unkillable right now. PPI obviously came in very hot as well, and then we ended up having a trend day up and broke up higher on Thursday. So for whatever reason, the market's remaining extremely resilient. I don't have a lot of interest in trying to sell this market anymore until it really shows a reason to sell it. It just seems like every single gap down, every single piece of bad news is just getting bid. So that's kind of been the tale of the last few weeks here. Giant gap downs on Sunday get immediately bought, turns into a trend week higher, and then we set the low on Monday, and then the high on Friday has been the case the last 3 weeks. So we'll see if that continues. We have some pretty major areas we can look at just to kind of go through what we're looking at as far as data this week. So Monday we talked about. Tuesday, not much. We have consumer confidence at 10 p.m. We have Oxy after hours for earnings. That'll be interesting. Wednesday, again, not much. We have home sales at 10 a.m. We have 1 p.m. the 20-year bond auction. So that'll be, I don't know how much the market's going to move off of that, but that'll be interesting to see if duration gets some bid. Thursday morning, we have Baba for the Baba boys for earnings, as well as Walmart. We have jobless claims, as we usually do on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. and pending home sales at 10 a.m. Friday, we have PCE, so we have the Fed's preferred inflation metric. That comes in at 8:30 a.m., and then we have PMI at 9:45, and consumer sentiment, the final reading of consumer sentiment at 10. So things to note, not anywhere near as heavy as last week, but some things just to pay attention to during the week. So with that out of the way, we're looking at the S&P 500 futures here at ES. There's only really one thing I actually care about this week. So we're in multi-day, like 22, 23-day balance at this point, multi-week balance, quite a large range. 61 62s is the current balance highs, and then the balance lows 59 50s. So we have a very wide range that we're basically, we're in the upper quadrant of this huge daily balance range. We've basically been consolidating for weeks at this point, right? Like effectively we've gone nowhere. It feels like we've gone everywhere, but effectively we've really gone nowhere, as well as testing, the highs and lows and the extremes within this range. And this week, after we essentially were able to bottom out again, not be able to sell in bad news again, this week to me is really about whether or not we can continue that upside momentum that we started. We started, I guess, the week before last, and actually, try and break this away and get up to balance highs and potentially back into price discovery and new all-time highs. So the big thing for me this week, really all that matters to me, is the lower end of Thursday's distribution. So essentially when we broke down from those large weekly sells, we put in we put in heavy selling below 6120s and 6114s. So when we broke down most recently on the week prior, we left a set of single prints between 6114s and 6108s. And when we broke back up through this range, this LVN right here, through this range, we put in an opposing set of single prints up back through 6114s. So basically the way that I'm looking at this right now is that this market doesn't want to sell. And until we get a real reason to sell, or until we see some really heavy selling back below those single prints, those opposing single prints that broke us up, then broke us down, then broke us back up, I'm going to be looking to continue to buy it on an intraday basis and look for those decent lows to form and try and get this up into balance highs. So looking at this, it's also last week's value area high, 6114s to 6108s. This to me is critical. So if we see some early rejections of this 6130s area, I'll be looking to see if we can hold a bid down into this green shaded area right here. As long as this is holding, as long as we're putting in a decent low down into 6108s, basically, I don't think there's a reason to sell this market. That's how I'm going to look at this. If we can hold this area, if we can hold this bid, I think this is going to test up into 6160s. We're going to test balance highs. And then eventually, if we end up being able to accept outside of 6160s, then we have a massive target on a 50% balance extension at 6260s basically. So thinking about it this way, the market's basically been in limbo. We've been in indecision and balance for weeks and months, really. It's 3-month balance as well as multi-week balance on shorter time frames. So if this market actually wants to break this and we start accepting above 6160s, then I think the possibility of a violent acceleration higher away from this consolidation period is there. Where I'd be looking on the other side of the tape and looking to sell this is if we can't accept 6108s. So if we start offering 6108s, we lose the other end of this distribution. We lose the breakaway that we put in from this weekly consolidated range. Then I'd be looking to sell this back down and see if we can get into 6088s. So back into last week's POC, as well as the 20-day simple moving average, which is right here. And I think if we can't accept this, I think the possibility of traversing the range down is there. So this is going to be critical to me. So we lose 6108s, then I think the short-term target is going to be last week's POC. I think this would be the line in the sand for me. Essentially, if we can't continue to hold, if we do sell down and we can't, if we can't liquidate through 6080s. Then I think there's a good chance we revert back up and we test this upper range again. But if we do actually have selling liquidation through this area and we actually can get below 6080s, then I think testing the bottom of this range is going to be quite likely. So back down into 6020s, potentially 6K, and all the way down to 5950s. I'm less interested. I shouldn't say interested. I'm less on the side of thinking that happens, just again, because every single thing that's tried to sell this market, even hot prints, has been unable to do so. So again, until there's really a reason for me to look at the sell side of this and really look to see if I can position myself on the short side, I'm going to remain looking for those decent lows to form, especially down into this area, and see if we can test balance highs. The other thing that we could see if we do see a sweep and fail of this balance range high, so of this huge consolidation period that we're in, if we fail to break away from this and we see a decent size selling start to happen in the top of this range, then we could see a look above and fail, and we could potentially see a traverse back down. But again, those are the only two real scenarios I'm looking to be a seller on this. If we see really solid selling at the highs in 6160, or we see some aggression below 6108s. That's the way I'm going to play ES. NASDAQ, to keep this quick, exactly the same thing. So looking at the NASDAQ, the primary area for me is going to be 22 100s down into Friday's low at 2240s, which is also basically value area high of last week. So it's going to be the same thing. If we're testing this area and putting in decent lows, then I think, again, it's the continuation trade long side, and we start getting up into 22 300s and then retesting all-time highs at 22 400s. And again, same thing here. Like if we're failing up here and we see a decent size, decent aggressive selling, then potentially, I can start looking at the short side of this market and see if we can traverse the range back down. Or if we see some really aggressive selling below 22,040s, then down in here into 950s, which is the prior weekly highs and prior seller, the liquidated range twice. This would be the line in the sand for me down here. So if we start accepting back into this range, back under 21,950s, then I think the potential for, a larger down move again back into the bottom of this range down to the 21.4s, and then potentially lower down to this naked POC at 2200s, I think it's there. Those are only two situations when I think I'd want to be positioned short on this market, because again, it's just proving to be unkillable. So that's how I'm going to look at this week. I'm keeping it really simple. It's really just those two areas, top of the balance range to look at reaction if we get up there, and then these two areas down here, so 22,100s to 40s, and then basically down into 61.14s to 08s. The only real things I care about this week. I think everything can be structured around these areas. They're very clear areas to try and manage risk. I'm going to try and keep it as simple as that, and just kind of ignore everything else. So that's how I'm going to look at this week. Hopefully that helps. I don't have too much more to add. I'm going to try and keep this short and really simple this week. That's how I'm going to trade it. If it ends up being a super choppy week, it is a short week. So if it's going to be a super choppy week, and we're just balancing again back into the bottom of this range, then my inclination is to probably just not be a participant. I really would like to see a directional move away from this range. I'd really like to be on the right side of that move. I don't really want to I'm not super interested in getting caught up in this chop again. So if that means, less trade, if that means just, taking it easy this week, then that's what I'll do. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments. Like the video, subscribe if you haven't. Appreciate that a lot. Getting some new subscribers, which is nice. I'd love to see that number keep growing. It just gives me motivation to keep going with this stuff and keep making these videos public. So hopefully that helps. Thanks.